Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Aditi from the Global Wildlife Fair team. Global Wildlife Fair is a platform that brings together adventurers, ecologists, photographers, and storytellers from around the world. We celebrate the exploration of nature, discovering new species, new landscapes, new experiences, while connecting people who share a passion for the natural world. At its heart, GWF is about building a global community that learns, travels, and grows together. As a part of our exhibitor webinars, we invite our exhibitors to share their work and insights with the wider community. Today's session features the International Birding and Research Center, Elliott, one of our exhibitors, focusing on innovative conservation of man-made habitats for migratory birds in Elliott. Located only on the land bridge connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa, Elliott is a critical stopover for millions of migratory birds, where community-based approaches have transferred non-natural habitats into vital conservation spaces. We are pleased to welcome Noam Weiss, Director of the International Birding and Research Center, Elliott, who has led conservation efforts for over a decade. I now invite Mr. Weiss to begin the session.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm delighted to be here with you today. My talk is about conservation of migratory birds, a lot of birds, and I'm located in Eilat, which is in the southern part of Israel, just on the border with Egypt, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. And this is how our work looks like. You probably imagined me in the field looking at birds, but actually, this is how we do nature conservation with people, and I will explain why. So, our mission is very well defined: safeguarding the migratory birds flyway in Eilat and Southern Arava. And this is our flyway. You can see where I am right now in Eilat. It's the only land bridge connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa. And because of that, most birds only go overland on migration. If it's a small bird that doesn't want to fly above the sea because of danger of a storm or predator, or it's a soaring bird like an eagle that needs the thermals to develop. So hundreds of millions of birds, actually 500 million birds that have been recording on radar, are using our bottleneck between Europe, Asia, into Africa. But the main feature, even more than that, is between Eilat, where I am now, and the next stopover site for migratory birds, the next place with trees, with food for birds, is a 3,000 kilometer Sahara Desert, which means that the birds that arrive in Eilat in autumn need to prepare themselves for 3 days and nights of non-stop flight without any food. Now in beginning of spring, we see the first spring migrants. They arrive very weak, very tired, very hungry to Eilat after crossing this huge challenge, the Sahara Desert. This makes Eilat one of the most important spots for conservation of migratory birds. We are not protecting our birds, we are protecting the birds of Europe and Europe and Asia, actually. So migration became an almost impossible task. It's not just that the desert is getting wider and wider because of climate crisis. Also, breeding regions are further apart, again, because of the same crisis, and birds need to fly take longer migration routes, arrive earlier in the early spring, and also the challenges of illegal killing of birds are enormous. But probably the most stressing problem is stopover sites being degraded or in bad shape. And without all these factors, birds just cannot migrate. So our job is to ensure that the flyway through Eilat will continue to exist and will be healthy. and we see less and less migrants all the time. How do we know that there are less migrants? We monitor very intensively. Ringing, which means bird catching, checking their physical condition and releasing them immediately, is done every day on migration time, and every day the same thing, the same for hours, same net, so the effort is constant, so we can compare day to day. We do a lot of field surveys, designated field surveys like seabirds, raptor counts, which just started in Eilat yesterday, etc. Stopover site surveys, and we define our mission and management from science and monitoring. The data we collect gives us two main things. One, we know what the birds actually need from us. And two, we also have the legitimacy to advocate because we hold the knowledge, the data, so we know what needs to be done. This is our sad picture of the decline of birds globally, probably. We see it in Eilat, a steady decline in autumn. Autumn means that birds arrive from Europe and Africa and end up in Eilat before crossing the desert, so the desert has no effect on the number of birds yet, and you can see the sharp decline. When we check which birds decline more, so it's very clear that the long-range distant migrants are declining much faster than the short-range migrants, which means the birds that fly from Northern Europe to Southern Africa are the ones that their migration became mission almost impossible, and they need our help more than any other bird. I'll take you to spring 2021, but actually last spring was just the same, exploding with birds. Millions of birds have been seen, which may sound like, wow, that's fantastic for tourism, and probably people may think this is great news. There are so many birds, but this is actually quite the opposite, because instead of seeing 100 corncrakes per year, we observed tens of thousands of them. But their physical condition was horrible. Many of them died, and you can see that they all landed in Eilat because they probably had no other choice. Something went wrong on migration, and Eilat became their SOS stopover site. And it wasn't just them. If you see, this is the river warbler. It's a rare bird. Usually our average, how many we monitor, we catch in the ringing effort per year is 0.7, less than a bird per year, and 2021, 66 birds. Same with thrush nightingales, 4 times more the average. Garden warblers, same thing, huge numbers. Barred warblers, again, all these species, instead of 109, all these birds show that they stop in Eilat in huge numbers in a specific spring, and let's try to understand what actually happened. So let's look at the challenges of birds migrating towards Eilat in spring. It has already been crossing the desert once in autumn, and now from sub-Saharan Africa, Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, they need to cross the desert and to arrive to Eilat, the first green spot where they can find food after 3,000 kilometers of flight. Let's look at the physical condition that we got the data from the ringing effort. This is the average weight of these long-range migrants. If you compare it to 2021, which was a drought year in Horn of Africa, in Somalia, in Ethiopia, in South Sudan, you can see suddenly that the weight is much lower. The physical condition of birds in 2021 was very poor. Same goes for 2022. And so what does it mean conservation-wise? That the most important effort for us is to provide stopover sites, because sometimes we are just one more stopover site along the way. But sometimes the birds arrive in such poor condition, especially if there is no food on the other side of the Sahara Desert, and they start the crossing before they can even be ready, and they hardly survive. This makes Eilat so important. And this is what happened in 2021, much less rain than average. And this is what climate change is bringing us to this part of the world, the Horn of Africa, which makes Eilat so crucial. If we look at the physical condition of birds, and these are the 10 most common birds that we check every spring. I just chose 4 random years, and you can see the 2015 is the year that all 10 species had the lowest fat score. I can also show you the weight, but it's the same thing. This is just more significant. You can see that in 2014, the blue one, the birds arrived fat to Eilat and in very small numbers, while in 2015, they arrived in bad physical condition, almost dying, and in huge, huge numbers. So when you see lots of birds in Eilat, this means trouble. The birds are in trouble and they need our help. So no rain in the other side of the Sahara Desert means birds arriving to Eilat for food in huge numbers, and we are becoming an SOS stopover site. And our focus, stopover sites, long-range migrants, and of course, flight safety because they fly in the sky. So monitoring and science-based management is the bread and butter of every conservationist. We have the data, we understand the situation, we understand the needs of the birds, and now we need to act upon it. And if we don't, that's what happens. That is from one single garden in such a bad year with so many birds and so little food. We also protect open spaces that are natural, like we protect the larks, the thick-billed lark, the Temminck's lark, the dance lark, the hoopoe lark, which are pretty common. We also protect the 4 species of sandgrouse that we have here in the desert, but this is not our main work. Our main work is to work with the stopover sites, not the desert itself, which is surrounding Eilat, but the places where the birds need so they can continue migrating. So again, our mission to continue to help the flyway exist. This is our history. You can see the Gulf of Eilat. That's the dark area here. It says the Gulf. And you can see this dark patch now marked with green. This is the salt marsh of Eilat. Why is it a magical forest? Because the ground is so salty that it absorbs humidity from the air, groundwater from the ground, and is wet even without rain. You're probably not aware of our climate. We have 2 centimeters of rain per year average. That's nothing. So we have here a salt marsh, which is actually full of food, spring and autumn, because our desert plants bloom twice a year, which is also a very special thing. So this is our stopover site that used to take care of the birds going into Africa. But look what happened. It's all gone. Hotels, airport, salt factory, agriculture, rubbish dump, everything you can imagine, but habitats for birds. So our job is first to create the Eilat Bird Sanctuary, which is our 100% managed stopover site for migratory birds. My office is right. You can even see my office on the right side. And our job is to create habitat for every species of bird and to monitor all the time through ringing, catching birds, checking physical condition and releasing to make sure that they have everything they need, okay? We are not dependent on anything. This is our site, the resources are enough, and we can provide the birds what they need, but what is limited is, of course, funds and how large our area is. And it's very complicated to protect the birds outside the bird sanctuary. This is the Liechtenstein sandgrouse. It's very rare bird in our country, and this is where they live among cats, people. And in Israel, cat is a very, very protected animal. You cannot harm it at all. People feed it in the streets, and endangered bird or a cat, the legislator in Israel is very clear about it. The cats come first. So we have to take care of that. But this is not the main reason why it's difficult to protect birds, not the cats. The problem is development pressures. And that migratory birds that used to have natural habitats are now pushed to man-made habitats, Which habitats? Could be sewage ponds, could be reservoirs, farmland, date plantations, which are very common, gardens, all kinds of habitats that their goal, their aim is not bird protection, not nature. It is made to create shade in the desert for people to live, to create food, to create reservoir of water, to keep water, to treat water for secondary use for agriculture, but it's not for birds. But the birds, this is where they are, because these are the only surviving habitats in our region. So we need to work with who? Not with nature itself, but with what we call natural infrastructure. You have a pond, which is not nature, but there is water, there is vegetation. This is a natural infrastructure, which isn't nature itself. And this is where the birds actually stop. So we need to work with people, less with birds, more with people. And it's also difficult because the investors are always stronger than us. They have political power, they have the unlimited funds almost, so much money, so much influence. And what do we have? Public support and data. That's all. And with that, we need to find giants. So this is our work. And how do we do it? This is it. We are showing birds, we are creating love for birds through awareness, but it must be on the highest level of awareness to change people's conduct. We explain how difficult it is to migrate, what are the challenges. We explain that we need to protect the flyway because just like you protect a highway for cars, the passage should be clear, no traffic jams. So the sky must be safe, no wind farms, no power lines that are dangerous, cables that hold pylons, or windows, buildings that are covering windows are a hazard. We have to keep the sky safe. And the second thing, stopover sites that serve as restaurants and motels, whatever they are, if it's natural or man-made habitat, doesn't matter. If this is what the birds need, this is where we are. And so we have so much conservation work, and this is just one example. This is an antenna. It's a bit hard to understand, but this is a plan for an antenna held by cables. Didn't take much to change it to this kind of pylon. It costs more, but it's much safer for birds because the migratory birds that fly at night collide into the cables. So that was an easy fight. It took us one meeting, and that was it. But not all the fights are easy. I'm going to tell you about our struggle against the wind farm in Eilat, which is just next to Eilat. 13 wind turbines, 120 meters high on the main flyway between the busiest, these are higher than the Statue of Liberty, between the most important stopover site. These are the flamingo pools, this is the sewage ponds of Eilat, this is the bird sanctuary, the North Beach, the canal, fields, dates, all the green areas and wetlands, all between these huge wind turbines, and we needed to stop it. Now, it's green energy, government loves it. It's a lot of foreign money. It came from France, French electric company, brings a lot of money from outside the country, employment, etc. How do we stop something which is so great, okay? And this is one of our struggles that I'll probably find the time to tell you. I think I'm going to talk about it later, but what I'm going to say here is through the official channels was very difficult, but we managed to stop this wind farm with the help of the public because they vote no, and it just didn't happen. We also have a local Eilati regulation for construction. No buildings are made of glass. That's forbidden. So to make sure that birds don't collide. So this is pretty new, just came in, and this is very helpful. And we also have the master plan for stopover sites, which means, okay, let's see where this is a pretty big area. This is 100 kilometers long, this map that you see. And we are marking where are the birds actually stop without any judgment. If they want to go to a switch pond, this is where we're going to be. And we need to find out how to safeguard it all. So because these are man-made habitats, it always goes through community-based conservation. We need to convince the people that birds are important for them. For them, they need to love them, connect birds and people. And our theory of change, remember the mission? Keep the flyway running and safe. Is how do we do it? Public opinion, data and knowledge. So we are the legitimacy to advocate. These have impact on decision makers, and their decisions change reality. And this is actually working very, very well for us here. So a lot of research for data. A few small examples is what just started yesterday is we are counting the birds of prey. This is our counters, not the bird, the one behind it. This is a whittier. We count 500,000 step buzzards in just 1 month. And we have about 750,000 honey buzzards passing in 3 weeks. We have 50,000 Levant sparrowhawks. Maybe number is not so impressive, but this is 100% of the global population, and they pass in 10 days only. So you can see that the whole world population or huge parts of world population of species, even common ones, pass in Eilat and they must be kept safe. 20,000 steppe eagles, which are globally endangered. This is 1/3 of the global population of a bird which is declining very, very fast. And Daulal Boha from India is working very hard to protect them also in India. With very impressive work. And this is what happens. They decline as usual, and we need to make sure that at least at our part of the flyway, they will stay safe. We also do sea monitoring for seabirds and stopover sites monitoring everywhere to collect as much data that will be needed. You never know what data you will need tomorrow. Suddenly, someone wants to build a reservoir, you need to say what's going to happen there. You have to be able to predict and what can be done better. So the traditional bird observatory, the ones we usually have in Europe, in North America, they are based on knowledge, on data collection, and this is maybe the most perfect world. If an expert says, don't put wind turbines, and the government say, okay, if the expert says that's what we do, this is a perfect world, but this is not how it works. If you have data is not enough because the investors have their own experts and they say whatever they want. Sometimes not very accurately. They are paid to give data. And then the planning committee that needs to decide, they see one expert that says it's very bad wind turbines. What other expert says, it's not a big problem. The birds will go around them. What should they decide? Okay, so your legitimacy is evaporating. So you need the public support to back your efforts. And I'll show you some of our, let's start with the campaign in the flamingo pools. Now, these are the flamingo pools. Well, I didn't put a picture of the whole pools, but you can see how it looks like. You can imagine it's 5 pools that are actually not a nature site. It's a salt factory. You're probably aware that salt factories or salt ponds are very attractive stopover sites for lots of migratory birds. And suddenly someone wants to build a campsite next to it. When we go there, we think, wow, so beautiful. When the investors go there, they say, wow, it's an opportunity to make a lot of money. So they developed a visitor center, which is good, but with campsite. Now, these are very, very sensitive creatures, active at night. It's not just flamingos. It's also lots of other migratory birds, shorebirds, gulls, storks stop there in hundreds of thousands sometimes. And we need to make sure that this site stays safe. And these are birds that roost or migrate or active mainly during night. So we went for a fight. We tried to explain how invulnerable these birds are, how important they are. Well, it's interesting, but this is not going to create the change. What created the change was this. Just 300 people arrived, but we made a party. We all dressed pink. It's the last opportunity you will see me dressed in pink. And we danced and we laughed and we painted flamingos on the cheek of the kids, and we watched them with telescopes, and we talked how beautiful they are. And decision makers came and they realized they are standing there, they see the beauty, they see that they care, people care about this. So they also cared, and they just stopped it. This plan just vanished because the decision makers that you used to be very much for it, for campsite, because we don't have enough campsite, because it brings money, it's good for tourism, for employment, and it's nature. You may even call it ecological tourism, which it's not. Because if it disturbs nature, it's not really ecotourism. Ecotourism supports nature, helps nature. It goes together with nature. But this wasn't. So we made sure that it's off the table. So our main asset are the public, and we start at very young age. So you see, these are volunteers at the bird sanctuary. We go to schools dressed like that, explain the young generations how important, how beautiful birds are, and we ask them to identify with them. We bring volunteers. Some people think that volunteers are cheap manpower. First of all, they aren't that cheap, but this is not manpower or women power. Volunteers are your cutting edge inside the communities, local communities. If one village wants to create some project that would harm birds, or you want to make a positive effect, who's gonna convince the people? Me, that I live in another village, or the people who are volunteering for you? 100% identified themselves with the bird sanctuary's agenda. They convince their own people, and this is the most effective thing. So for me, investing in volunteers is the best investment I can do. And we also do ecotourism. Yeah, it brings money. It's a good thing. It helps protect nature. It brings money into conservation, but even far more than that, it creates value for the sites. Because if the bird sanctuary attracts all these bird watchers that otherwise would never came to the country at all, then Ministry of Tourism would like to promote you, to invest in you, and this goes to conservation. So tourism is important, not just an income, not just an ally of conservation, but also it's the best fundraiser ever. Government really, really appreciates good tourism. We also do it not for professional bird watchers. Actually, 95% of the visitors to the bird sanctuary, we have 150,000 visitors per year, are just people interested. They see a bird sanctuary. Let's see what's inside. They get guided. They see the bird from the ringing station. This is not a zoo. We don't keep birds in cages. This was caught in the ringing station, measured, shown to the people, released. Maximum 10 minutes. So this is how we connect people with birds. We also do very large community work. In Israeli scales, having 2,000 people at one event is huge. I know India is different, but here we are trying because Eilat is only 50,000 inhabitants. It's a small town, and we are trying to attract the people of Eilat and the visitors to enjoy the time in nature and appreciate conservation. This, what you see here, is actually an actress which is doing a headphones party. There is music, but only in their ears. There is no noise pollution. The birds are not affected. They are happy. They are dancing. They laugh about birds, and create very positive feelings. And then they come to me, and I tell them, look, we need to make something better with the sewage ponds of Eilat. Let's see how we do it together. And people are all there for help. And this is how you recruit the best public opinion. We make 5 different public events every year that some of them are 2 days long. So we spend a lot of money in these public events. It's free, completely free for the people. Just come and enjoy and support our work. This is a day for endangered species that kids want to experience how to be a steppe eagle. Um, what happened? Yep. And also during the war, you're all aware that we used to be in a state of very, very bad war and so painful and tragic, big tragedy for both sides. And my heart is with all these suffering people. And we had 60,000 refugees arriving to Eilat, which more than doubled the people of Eilat in one day. They came with traumatized, with their pajamas on, with no shoes. Some of them just ran away from the fights. And we gave them, they stayed here for a year and a half, and we gave them everything we could. Tree planting for hope, do some crafts with the kids, show them the birds, dance with them with funny costumes, play games. And this was very, very important. We call it the nature for the protection of people. Our society is called the protection nature. We want to protect nature. But nature can also protect us sometimes. And this is what we were doing during the war here. Also during COVID and also war, but when people are forced to stay home, we continue working, just do webinars like this one. And also some of them, this is the ringing effort. You can see we caught a buzzer that day, that Sam from England was volunteering for us that day. This is the ringing station. And we do a lot of webinars, also live from the field. We connect our phone onto a telescope with four or five people all over the region and show them live birding while they are forced to stay at home. And this creates a lot of good public relation and continue the connection with the people. I want to tell you about how we started to connect people with birds. And this is what we call the project of the bird of Eilat. If you Google Eilati, someone who lives in Eilat, these are the pictures you will get. Nothing much. Statistics claim that people don't stay here long. We are 150 kilometers away from the next city. We are in the middle of nowhere in the desert. So people come and go, they work, and they don't stay long. And people say we lack the sense of identity. So what did we do? We make questionnaires for people, ask them, who are you as Eilatis? What defines you as Eilati? And the next stage was to choose 10 flagship species to represent these characters. Now, I know birds are birds. We don't want to humanize birds, but this was an opportunity I couldn't miss. So we took 10 different birds, and each one was a character. The little green bee-eater, now called the Arabian bee-eater, is the most beautiful bird in town, or person in town, who acts like one. They know they are beautiful. They sit on the top, they sing songs, they have their beautiful song call, and they fly back and forth with catching bees. They are beautiful. The sunbird is tiny, energetic, and it originally comes from the desert, but now it made it a big time a success all over the country because we have lots of flowers in gardens, but it originates in the desert. If you feel that you're the energetic one, vote for the sunbird. And we ask people to vote. If you're just visiting, the black up is the migratory visitor returning every year 2 times, spring and autumn, crazy about Eilat, loves the food, loves the hotels, relaxation, and we spoke about conservation. And this is what we did. We got one day in every one of our 13 schools, a daily local show to present a bird each time, community events, 2 of them, and we asked people in the street to identify themselves with one of the birds. Actually, to identify themselves, with their identity component, which is connected to a bird. And the outcome was people learning birds and advocate for them. So you could see that the mayor was pushing very strong for the only endemic species, the white-eyed gull, our local patriot, never leaves town. The staff of the bird sanctuary, we wanted the steppe eagle. It's important, it's a flagship species. The field school, it's people who guide people in nature. They wanted flamingo. Pink glasses, always optimistic, no enemies, life is good, life is easy. Why bother with the challenges? And on and on. And the result was out of 50,000 inhabitants, we had almost 16,000 votes, which is plenty. Some people even cheated, which is even great. They are so involved. They vote twice with their grandma's phone. I have no problem. They are involved, they are invested in birds in themselves. And the media, public opinion leaders, and the residents talked about birds, sympathized birds everywhere. It was the talk of the city. And we made our birds a solid component of our identity of Elatis. Now, everybody knows that birds are important, and birds chose Eilat as a stopover site, and now it's time for us to choose these birds who we are. And I don't know if you can estimate, but our mayor is a very good campaigner, and he won the White-Eyed Gull. Got it? These are the manpower who did this. This is the White-Eyed Gull's pictures, the winner, the bird of Eilat, and this is the team. 100% volunteers for this project. You know, the Excel sheets of budgets, there was no one. Everything was given by this organization, the other organization, help here, help there. Didn't spend any money on this one. So this was a very successful, creating a good public relationship. We also do a lot of conservation across borders because birds do not just pass in Israel, they pass in Palestine, in Jordan, in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, our neighbors, and further on. This is why we cannot allow ourselves to limit our work just here. And the picture you see down there is the Palestinian team, the Palestine Wildlife Society. And these people, until now, are the ones running nature conservation together with us during the war, during the mess that we had here. We are still in contact, we talk daily, and we coordinate, and we help each other, and we care for each other. So this is a bright spot from conservation of birds that can bridge political differences. And we have once a year the Guardians of the Flyway. It's an international regional workshop that is about community-based conservation. We see ourselves as we have the knowledge how to do conservation together with community, and we bring every time 20 people from regional countries. Unfortunately, India is not included because it's funded by the Ministry of Regional Cooperation. So it's Central Asia, Caucasus, Middle East, North Africa, Arab countries that arrive to this workshop, and it's happening actually in 20 days. We do the next time. Let's see what happened at the Eilat switch points, because I talked a lot about campaigns that are negative. Let's stop investors doing that. Let's protect this place. But what about some positive work? And this is the story of the Eilat sewage works, which is actually a reservoir. This is a little bit of in between the project. I don't have before picture, but I can tell you it's attracted lots of birds, huge diversity, but horrible place with so many hazards. And we needed to change this. Now, how did we start the project? Someone came to the Eilat Bird Sanctuary saying, the engineer of the water company says, I listen, my daughters love to hold the birds and release them. Let me help. And we went for a project, and I'll describe it here. First of all, what are the key species? What biodiversity we want to protect? And then three things. One is improve biodiversity through floating islands, keeping the vegetation in a specific way, making slopes better, taking care of hazards, light, noise, obstacles, electrocution, and then also infrastructure for visitors to make it last. And the hazards were plenty. Plenty of hazards that we identified. I think the most serious one was electrocutions with power lines, noise and light, fences, disturbances for bird watchers. So all the birds flew in the air. Fish poisoning, aggressive vegetation management, very important. Twice a year, they used to cut all the vegetation to maintain the slopes. But was it actually needed? So we came for we mapped the hazards, and we look for opportunities, empty spaces, we have water, maybe we build islands, floating islands, and we made a plan. Instead of cutting vegetation, we put concrete on the places that needs to be protected from vegetation. And the water company says, okay, if this is protected, they don't need to take care of vegetation anymore. So what you get is very beautifully growing old reed beds that are very attractive and create a good ecosystem. And just by this is not even much of a technical work, much of infrastructure. It's management change, and suddenly the place is better. But we did so much more. We made a canal wet, we flooded some pools, we put floating islands, we put safe perch areas for birds. You see, instead of getting electrocuted or entangled in barbed wire, the fence that you see left of this of pylons is the border with Jordan. We put safe perches. Now the birds can perch and not get electrocuted or entangled in barbed wires or anything else. They are safe. So we can change reality in a site pretty easily, and the result is amazing. Okay, so many birds, so happy. The death of birds there is dropped to zero, and it's a really, really, really nice a success. You can see we also put some infrastructure for people, heights and trails and parking and a forested area for passerines. So this created something nice. And the last thing we did within this project is to write a booklet that describes what we did, but in a different way. We actually made a booklet, which is a guide how to prepare your reservoir wherever you are as a secondary use for nature, building, and tourism. Every reservoir can take these guidelines that we put in a booklet, fortunately in Hebrew, in our language, but you can see the picture that illustrates some of the things we did, and actually do things so much better. So every reservoir can take this and change its conduct and realize that this is not just a water storage area, this is also natural infrastructure site that needs to be addressed to. And if the people who are running the place are not willing to do anything for birds, planning committees might come into action when they ask to put a new power line, or to make it larger reservoir, and suddenly the planning committee says yes, but there is a booklet that I really advise you to look at and do accordingly. So this is a very powerful tool, and it all started with community-based conservation. One person with two daughters, his name is Eric, and he changed reality together with us. He did not put $1 in this project. We did all the fundraising, all the planning. We fundraised for the planning with ecologists, with planners. Then we fundraised for the implementation, and then we implemented together with them, and they are very, very proud of their work. There is some work with farmers too, because farmland is very intensive, even if it's in the desert, and we work with birds and other creatures that help farmers. And everybody knows that birds love the trees, and this is the most common tree in our region. It's the date plant. It's a date plantation, tens of thousands of trees. And we also know that migratory birds feed on insects. They need a protein. Buzzards feed on rhinoceros beetles that are a pest, and the warblers feed on date moth, which is a serious pest. But we never knew how to quantify it, how to address it, how to show farmers that they need to bring birds. So we did some surveys and some data collection, and let's put the results in a more graphic way. This plantation has no ground vegetation whatsoever. It's just trees. This is a very poor ecosystem. Yes, there are a few birds that actually give some pest control service for the farmer, which is the most serious problem of date growing pest. But if you add vegetation on the ground, or actually if you stop fighting vegetation on the ground, you suddenly get 6.5 times more insectivore birds, insect-eating birds in their plantation. They just need to stop cutting the vegetation. Now, it comes with a small cost because machinery, movement, taking care of irrigation pipes, etc. Yes, and we have new ways to help them deal with that, but they get so much better pest control. And now we know how to do it. We also can put tapes to invite the birds or put some water to attract more of them. Of course, we do it in a kind of deal, integrated pest management, IPM, which means, first of all, let's try to prevent the problem using biological means. Like if you put all this vegetation, so it attracts birds, also insect-eating bats, and also parasitoidic insects that are actually specific for the pests there. And if you prevent, you monitor. If it doesn't work, they can use pesticides, no problem. It's not an organic plantation. We allow that as long as they stop attracting the birds. So if they use that, so they need to give biology a chance, and it works perfectly. And you can, this is a little bit in Hebrew, but this is a new project to add some vegetation to create nectar to attract birds and parasitoidic wasp, and to put water for insect-eating bats, to create caves, artificial caves for bats, places for them to stay, not for fruit-eating bats. These are big, and we can control the size of the pool, which is not good for these kind of bats, or the size, the entrance to the caves we create, so we can control which creatures we attract to the plantation, make better stopover sites for birds, and at the same time, much better pest control with almost zero cost for the farmers, so nest boxes. And this is our experiment from the last 2 years, flowering strips in the middle of the plantation that attracts insects, that we actually create an ecosystem, because just the trees was a kind of ecosystem that was good only for insects that live on dates, and they eat the dates. Now we create a much richer ecosystem that creates stability, balance, and this is already showing its success in the field. We also did some bat drinking pools. They drink while flying, and you can control who's gonna drink it by the size of the pool. 1 meter was found to be the best for insect eating, and the result is pest suppression. We also work in the fields. These are onion fields, and you can see before our intervention, no purchase, crop only, which means monoculture, intensive chemical pest control. So we add some purchase, some birds arrive. We add some water, more birds arrive. We created desert flowering strips, some biodiversity of plants, and suddenly so many birds arrive. And what you get is biological pest control in action in the field. And this is really, really working very well. The farmers still use chemicals, but much less. So this is just by bringing more, creating an ecosystem attractive for birds. Now it's good for the farmers, and it's good for me, for conservation. Now the birds, instead of arriving to a field which is heavily pesticides, without much insects because they're all dead, suddenly, which looks great habitat, it's green, but no food. So now they have same looking habitat, a little bit different, but with a lot of, and they get to eat the insects, not the poison. So this is much better. And we also know how to guide the farmers. This is the autumn. This is for onion fields created, which birds in which numbers arrive when, how to attract them, etc. The guidelines exist. We took it to community level, and we said, okay, if we have talked about ecological system services of pest control and others. Let's do the project called the Generous Garden, bring it to the villages, to the farmers' villages, and create insect hotels to invite insects, or bed houses for insect-eating beds, or water for birds, migratory birds, and butterfly gardens, etc. And the result was a new project. Now, one village called Neotz Madar decided that they want to do it not just a small garden, they want to do it all over the village. So this is the whole village. It's a big one, and they have fields, fields, date plantations, sewage works, orchards, two lakes, a coffee shop on the road, and residential area. And each one of these got our treatment, and I will show you what we did. This is the sewage, just an example, the sewage pools to purify the used water. So we told them, let's add some local vegetation there, and digging shallow bays there, and creating longer shorelines, breeding islands, oxygenation device to make the water more alive, under fence entrances for ground birds and mammals, drinking spot with better kind of water for birds or other wildlife to drink from the better water, etc. Additional local vegetation in all kinds of places. And this worked. And actually, this kibbutz, this village, Neotz Madar, was named one of the world's best tourism villages by the UN Tourism this year, or 2025 actually. Why? Because they are doing amazing tourism based on conservation. And these are bird watchers, these are just visiting people, and they hear about how the kibbutz, how the village turned its conduct. The plantation is now a good habitat for birds. They enjoy it, the birds enjoy it, and it's very good tourism, and they got really, really success with that. And of course, just like the last example, we made a booklet, how to improve villages for biodiversity and make them a better stopover site for migratory birds, this Neotz Madar test case. And of course, here you can see all the guidelines, how we changed, looked for opportunities, and how to mitigate hazards in every micro habitat in the village, so the birds enjoy it, and at the same time the people are happy about it and also getting services from the wildlife which is there too. And what I want to show is the methodology of this work, because we got advanced with that. So I will show you how do we do it. The first thing is we define the process. What do we want? Defining the team, borders of project, etc. That's obvious. Next thing is, what are the needs? Whose needs? Biodiversity needs. What do the birds, the mammals need from us? What is the operation and maintenance needs of the people of the site? We are talking about the date plantation. What maintenance they need? They need their machinery to pass. They need things to be accessible, easy to work. What are the community needs? When the community has a field, it likes to go there to see something beautiful, to breathe good air. And what are the ecological system services that we are trying to create? So these are the needs of nature and people. Next thing is, let's survey who's there. So we made bird surveys, characterized habitats, and we did something called BioBlitz, which is fun. It's 24 hours of experts from every possible biological field of expertise. They have 24 hours together with students, together with the community, together with people from all around the area. They go investigate, and their goal is to find as much biodiversity as possible. And this is like a community event, which is also scientific. It's a game, it's a competitive, and at the same time done with great scientific standards. So we know what's around. Next thing is, these ecologists and others do a hazard survey and opportunities, how to improve habitat survey. So now we know what we need to do in every microhabitat. Next stage is, let's check the feasibility of this recommendations. So we go to the decision makers, the one who run, who maintain each site, and start negotiations. Okay, we want to do A, B, C, D, E. He says A is fine, B no, C maybe differently. We come together into an agreement which becomes a plan, a work plan to improve and adjust habitats in the village for ecological needs of migratory birds, and also improve ecological system services for the people. So this plan is not mine anymore. It's theirs. It's theirs because it's their home. They want it for whatever reason, because it helps them work, because they feel proud about it, because they do something good, because they got something out of it. We do pilot projects, fundraising, implementation. So this project, the Neot Smadar project, was just got funded by the government for full implementation. Everything we recommended is gonna happen. Recommended and agreed by the people of the village that they want, or only the things they want. And this is how we are gonna, this is a good methodology, how to create a man-made habitat into a much better stopover site or any kind of habitat for wildlife. For me, migratory birds, but it could be for any other kind of wildlife. Take a sewage work, a date plantation, residential area, make it better for nature, make people happy, and also they gain. And what they gained here in the kibbutz is also the tourism. So actually this week we are doing the workshop for bird watchers in the village, and their hotel became bird watchers hotel or nature watching hotel, ecotourism, clear, perfect ecotourism. They made conservation. We give them a prize. We help them. We give them the knowledge. We give them the recommendations. We guide, and we're happy to do it because they work with us. And what is the next stage? Actually started this January. It's a master plan. If we worked on one village and on one wetland, now we marked the important area for migratory birds on the edge of the Sahara Desert, on the main flyway, on the only land bridge connecting Israel, Europe, Asia, and Africa. This is the core area. These are the places that are important. We marked all the places that are man-made habitats, not nature. We have good agency from government to protect nature, but these birds do not use this kind of nature. It's desert. So we marked almost 70 sites, that are important for birds, and we are going to implement our methodology on this site for the next 2 years. So it's a master plan, and we're going to take care of the whole region, create it better for birds. And I'm not sure I have more time. I'm not. The last thing I want to show is how to plan a nature-based site. This is the bird sanctuary. For us, it's a stopover site. It's even home, but it's also a tool to create support, uh, to create conservation. So these are a few principal site-specific needs, size, heterogeneity, etc. And we have to look who are our neighbors and how to interact with these neighbors. We define core zones, areas that are just for birds, not for people at all. Only birds are allowed. And in the area which is not core area, we also a party to intensive area where it's actually urban, kind of urban, and the rest of the area which is for wildlife watching. So this we are now looking at the environmental culture hub, which is the visitors infrastructure area. And what do we have there? We have free entrance. It's an open space. It's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's accessible also for people with disabilities, languages, water, drinking water, helpful staff, toilets, picnic area, guiding, ringing station, shop, lots of information. Our 3 principles are accessibility, generosity, and service. We need to be generous and accessible and to give good service, and then people identify themselves with our agenda. So we have places to talk to 200 people at a time, smaller places for 50. A ringing station, you might imagine the scientific station, the research station, as remote researchers work. No, this is not it. It's together with the people. The public comes and they can see everything we do, how to put the ring, how we measure, how we check physical condition. We let them hold the bird and release it. So this is together integrating with the public, and they love it. It's also a magnet for volunteers, but not just that. Think of someone who didn't care much about birds conservation suddenly can hold a tiny bird, 5 grams only, that needs to migrate through the Sahara Desert, and it in its hands, and its heart is beating, and it will let it go and wish it success, pray for its success. It's changing the heart. So we have information center, shop, etc., all kinds of infrastructure that allow people, even photo opportunities, to get closer to birds in a kind of urban area. It's all full with arts. It's our volunteers and artists from the community see it as their home. Okay, express yourself. This is our ringing station wall, and you can see someone who is a volunteer, came for a year, is actually decorating it. These are Artists for Nature project that were here. Some sculptures. This is our city bird, the white-eyed gull. Remember, his belly is full of plastic. You know, the seabirds that feed on plastic and their belly get full of that and they die. So we wanted to make awareness for that. We do once a year the Plastic Pollution Awareness Day for educational for schools, and this is the highlight of the visit. We dance with costumes. We try to make people happy there. Some crafts, some community events. People come and play music there. Even do weddings. Even weddings. People come to get photographed. They even get married at the bird sanctuary, and even Miss World competition that was done in our city. Nothing important can happen in Eilat city without happening also the Eilat Bird Sanctuary. It's an important place. And this is me very, very happy with Miss Universe and the mayor together. When we go into the wild, visitors infrastructure, we have hides. Actually, when you go in the trails, you don't see the birds. You only see the trail, and then you go into a blind, to a hide, and you can see the birds through the windows, which means the stage is theirs. We are hidden. We are modest. The birds are the show. They are the ones who own the place. And we have, even for photographers, like eye level, the lands are 10 centimeters above the water level. They sit in underground hide, and the photographers just love it. Trails, information, etc. The last thing I'm going to say is, because of the location of Eilat, our responsibility is global. Our habitats, natural or man-made, doesn't matter. They allow the birds to migrate safely between continents. We don't want to stop human development, but we want to adjust it to what we need to protect, to our biodiversity. And nature conservation must be a leading principle in every planning decision, and we are making sure here that this is what's going to happen. It's now, protecting a natural site is so much easier because you don't need to do much, you know. This is a nature reserve, authority-based conservation by law, but what we do needs maintenance all the time. People change ideas. We need to continue working on this. So if you want to save the world, you already know how to do it. Protect nature and help NGOs survive, because we know a little bit better than governments. We are from ground level. We know what's needed, and we are innovative much more than governments. And this is certificate by the COP15 to state that the Eilat Bird Sanctuary, not the site, but the approach of a community-based conservation, is one of the 100 most important innovations for biodiversity conservation in the world. So we are very proud of this certificate. So these are some of our audiences, the volunteers. We made birds a great part of our life. We work with community-based conservation. Thank you for your support, for your help. Can join us as volunteers, raptor counters, whatever. We are very happy to have you, and we have some events. The Champions of the Flyway, 24 hours of marathon of watching birds. The team that sees most species is the winner, but they also need to fundraise each year for a different cause. Of course, bird conservation, and it's happening towards the end of March this year here in Eilat in Israel. Um, I want to thank you again for the audience, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Um, yeah, so there's some questions. I'll just read them out loud. So Amrut has a question for you. What strategies have been most effective in engaging local communities in Eliat?
Yes, so yeah, this is a good question. Um, and we tried almost everything. Education, extremely important, but I can't say that volunteers are less important because this is targeted. We do everything. We do education in all schools. They come to us, we go to schools. This is spreading the word, planting seeds. Then these people, some of them will become our volunteers later on and will be the cutting edge, our messengers, our ambassadors into the communities. Working with decision makers, with planning committees was the wrong approach. They are the decision makers, but if you go directly to them, you might lose. If you come with the approach of coming from below with the public who supports them, and they are actually part of this public, we are all just people. So I believe in planting seeds in education, having volunteers, doing community events, very, very important. This is communication with your audience. 2,000 people sit and listen to you 5 times a year. It's a treasure. You can't lose. So I believe engaging the community. And one more thing about that, the bird sanctuary is an asset. It's a place. It's a site. You can do a lot. Okay? You don't need permit from anyone. So the site is the base for education that comes, the community events we do, everything happens at the site. So I don't really know to point which is the most important one, but this combination, site, education, volunteers, community events, that's my solution.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I am Kirtika from the Global Wildlife Fair team, and I wanted to ask that how has been your experience of exhibiting with us in the last fair?
Oh, it was great. So Mr. Mohit was amazing inviting me and gave me a opportunity to talk 2 different talks, and it was amazing. And I'll tell you why, because we always, in my part of the region, we look west to Europe, America. They have the better science. We perceive as their better science. They know better. But being invited to the Global Wildlife Fair completely blew my mind because if you look east, suddenly it's not the science. It's, science changes the world, but too slowly. India, and then I went to the bird fair in Taiwan too. It's the people, feelings change reality. And when I was in the Global Wildlife Fair, it gave me an opportunity to share feelings with people, and I was together with the Sikh community. They were amazing, and they do uh, belief-based conservation. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's religious-based conservation. It's just amazing. It's feelings that create conservation. So I tell you, the Global Wildlife Fair let me share my ideas, but far more than that, it's empowered me that I'm on the right path because I met all these amazing people telling me that I'm on the right way and they understood exactly what I'm talking about. In Europe, they don't always understand me. So it was a huge gift for me. And I really recommend everyone to join this event because it is feeling at home. That's what it is.
Thank you, sir. So, Anish also has a question for you. What measurable impact have these conservation efforts had on bird populations?
Okay, so it is, I cannot measure world populations. It's too big. And measuring the amounts of birds that pass here in Eilat is actually not easy because it is not impacted by the numbers who pass here, but the numbers who use the site. And it is sometimes, if a lot of birds come and use the site, it's not a good sign because they couldn't use other sites, so they came to us. So I wouldn't measure it through birds. Um, we do see, actually, I did not show this graph, but I showed the graph of the declining birds in autumn, but since 2021, it's going up. And it's not because global populations are getting better, it's because we changed how we actually made a rewilding project, taking salty water, making floodings in areas that had no vegetation and creating salt marshes that were gone. So we created habitat that wasn't there. We didn't have salty soil, we used salty water and created. I measure the success by the habitats, like the change we managed to do in the habitats. If a sewage work, and there it's measurable, how many birds use the sewage work then and how many today, it's not 100% measurable because birds have to stop there. There is no other place, if it's good or bad. But it is measurable when you see that less birds die and the habitat is completely different. It looks much better and it attracts more birds and they feel better there. They are more active there. And I measure the success by the number of sites that are now much better for birds, and we are still just on the beginning of the way with that. And also you can measure the negative impact that never happened. Okay, that plants that were supposed to be here and did not happen. I must say I love question about measurable results. But if we will limit ourselves to only measurable stuff, it might be too late. Okay, we need to work. We see the needs of the birds through the physical, monitoring the physical conditions, how many birds use the places. We understand the needs of the birds and we act accordingly. If we'll try to do all these measurements, maybe we'll do so much less. It's a difficult question. I agree. It's difficult.
Okay. So we have one last question, and Pooja wants to ask, how do birds adapt to using man-made habitats like water reservoirs, farms, and gardens?
Well, they vote with their wings. So we don't try to convince birds to go to these habitats because nature is always better. You know, natural economy, no recycling 100%, energy isn't lost. It's very different from our very laid back economy. We waste, and we create garbage. Um, we just do, we just follow the birds. If the birds use the salt factory, that's where we're gonna work and make it better. If they go to the sewage works, that's where we're gonna try to make the water in better condition of water, make sure they don't drown, make sure they have places to hide if a predator comes, make it better for them. Changing the world is like to rewild the world, that's going to be very, very difficult, impossible. So we are doing what we can, and we are not convincing any bird. We are just following where they are and working just right there.
Okay. So thank you, sir, for a thoughtful and insightful session and for sharing your work on conserving migratory birds through innovative community-based approaches in Iliad. The recording of this webinar will be shared shortly. Thank you everyone for your time and participation. We look forward to having you all join for us for our upcoming webinars.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hope to see you soon.